Hi YouTube, it's Jonathan at the piano lesson. Beautiful day out today. It's just gorgeous. We're finally getting to some really nice weather. And I'm excited because I just got a garden plot that I'd been on a waiting list for a long time from the city. So I have big plans to grow something. I don't know what that something is. It might be peonies because those are my favorite flowers. And I did learn a little something about gardening. The old-timey raised bed gardens where you just looks like a burial mound. You don't do anything. You don't put frames up or anything. That's like the lowest carbon footprint from my understanding. Actually, just this is not music related, but if you guys know anything about this, I happen to have a car that runs on E85 on ethanol, and I've been reading about it and kind of getting back into the whole ethanol thing. And there's some interesting points to it. One of those being that it just seems to burn cleaner. It is in terms of offsetting carbon, questionable if you use corn for the ethanol, because as you till the soil, as you turn over the soil, you release tremendous amounts of carbon, which can take decades to really realize any kind of benefit from the lower release of carbon from the ethanol. And there is some lower release of carbon. But just the whole idea of apparently switchgrass is a good thing. We have a lot of switchgrass in Oregon. I don't know much about switchgrass, but apparently if we use switchgrass, we would be in very good shape in terms of mitigating our carbon footprint. So many things to know. Anyway, today I'd like to talk about the gray areas in learning music, learning the piano. What are gray areas? Well, just those little things that aren't quite obvious, that are murky, that confuse us perhaps, or the exceptions to the rule, and how to make them easier. I'm a big believer in if you're going to learn something, is always try to build on what you already know. Try to see how you can just take what you already know, modify it a bit, and then you create something new. So we were working on There'll Never Be Another You last week, the song There'll Never Be Another You. And there's a chord in it, and just as another little sidebar, if you happen to be using the real book, which is fine, there are some kind of fishy things going on in the real book in terms of notation and chords and erroneous things, and ultimately it's best to do some research and get to the original music. I'm not quite doing that in this instance, but the tune, I think, if you remember, this chord, that chord, now here, there are some interesting chords that can present some problems, and typically can be deceptive. Where's the word I'm looking for? Deceptive in terms of how we ordinarily expect them to move. So, for instance, this is E flat. Now, to 5-1 in a minor key, right? D minor 7, flat 5, G7, flat 9, C minor, relative minor, A flat, 2-5, D5-1, B flat minor 7, E flat 7. That's typical. A flat major 7, 1. Now, this chord, usually people think of playing D flat 7 sharp 11 or 2-5. That doesn't sound as good though. And then back to the E flat. I think it's nicer to have an inversion there. Either B flat in the bass or G. Probably G. You have to use your ear. And then F7. Now, this chord here, some people play F minor 7, flat 5, B7, flat 9, that chord, as opposed to D flat 7 sharp 11. Do you hear the difference? It's very interesting, isn't it? F minor 7 flat 5, D7 flat 9. Now, typically that would go to what key? Well, whenever you see F minor 7 flat 5, whenever you see a flat 5 chord, okay, that should tell you right away you go to a minor key, okay? And you're going to be moving by fourths, so B flat 7. Usually you're going to see a flat 9. This note, the flat 9 note and the flat 5 note are the exact same note. All right, it happens to be a C flat. That's the note that is common, and that's why you typically see a flat 9 after a flat 5. So what key would that go to? Typically E flat minor. It would typically go to E flat minor. It doesn't do that here. It's very interesting. It does go to a minor chord though. It goes to, isn't that interesting? Now listen, G minor. Interesting. So it goes to G minor. Now, that's kind of unusual in some sense. In another sense, it's not. It goes to the 3 chord in the key of E flat. We're in the key of E flat. All right. This is the 2. This is the 2 chord. That's the 5 chord. We're in the key of E flat. Typically, we would go to E flat minor or some kind of an E flat, but it goes to G instead. So it's still some sort of a minor chord, and it kind of satisfies that sound. Now the other thing is F minor 7 flat 5. There it is. All right. It's nicer to have a 9th in the chord. Now typically, if you're playing F minor 9, F, A flat, C, E flat, G, the top part of the chord is A flat major 7. Now listen, that's the chord that precedes it. It goes from A flat major 7 and then the F minor. Now a lot of people play F minor, but it's not F minor. It's F minor 7 flat 5. Right? And so you can think of the major 7 with a lowered third. What's that chord? That chord is called F minor major 7. F minor. Why minor? Because of the minor third, the C flat. It's not a B, it's a C flat. Right? Because we're skipping letters in the alphabet. G minor. F7. And then you have that's the sharp 5, and you could even have a flat 9 and a sharp 9. F. Sometimes it's nice, instead of going right to the major, you go to the a minor major. You play a minor or the diminished of the top. I'll do it again. 2-5 to C minor. Now, this is the first time different now. See that? Ending. So that was that little nuance there, the little nuance of dealing with the F minor 7 flat 5, B flat 7, and the other nuance, the D flat 7 sharp 11. Basically, the same or similar notes. See, let's just kind of get that clear. You know, it's a substitution, right? Here's the D7 sharp 11, all right? Here's the A flat minor major 7. Here is F minor 7 flat 5, all very similar. You know, we're kind of talking semantics here. D flat 7 sharp 11, okay? Or A flat minor with a major 7, or F minor 7 flat 5. All of those are kind of sort of related. Root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, 11th. That's the D7, D flat 7. Here's the A flat minor major 7. Okay. Here's the F minor 7 flat 5 with the added 9th. See what I'm saying? It's all kind of that's what I mean by gray areas, you know. You can take the D flat and stick it up there. That's kind of odd too, you know. I'm not quite sure how to classify that, but. And then of course, if you change the bass here, you get the B flat 7 flat 9, right? That's the next logical chord that you'd be going to. I don't know, that's another little thing. Now, another little gray area that no one wants to talk about, no one want to talk about it, but I think I'm the only one that cares about tetrachords. And most of the tetrachords that I talk about are tetrachords that are bound by a perfect fourth. But there are other tetrachords that are not bound by a perfect fourth, and I think those are really unusual. I don't want to use the word unusual, but they're really overlooked. So, what are the four main tetrachords that we typically talk about? Well, the major, minor, Phrygian, and harmonic. All right, those are the four, and with those four, you can create all kinds of scales. All right, but what about the scales that are bound by a tritone, bound by a augmented fourth? Okay, there are ones that are augmented, and then there are ones that are diminished. But let's talk about the augmented ones. There's three types. There's all whole steps. Okay, there's one where you take the let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. When would you encounter that? You'd encounter that tetrachord in the context of a melodic minor scale. Right. That's A melodic minor, and that portion of the scale that is where you would encounter those whole steps. Now, if I stepped up one note in that scale, you would also encounter a similar type of tetrachord. Same idea. So here you have that. Here you have that. But here you have the major tetrachord. All right. How about the harmonic minor? Well, if I step down one note and I frame a tetrachord here, right? That's a tritone. That's an important tetrachord concept to understand. That would be whole steps, like we had before. So if I take the middle finger, move it down a half step, that's one to consider, okay? That's the augmented fourth, D up to G sharp. That's clearly augmented fourth, right? If I go up again, and let's see here. Oh, here we go. That's major, right? That's our harmonic. There's one right there, okay? So F up to B natural, that's also a tritone, that's an augmented fourth, right? And in this instance, if I wanted to do a whole step, those are whole tone. So if I take the second finger and move it up a half step, that's the other type that I wanted to talk about, okay? So if you take the second finger and move it up a half step, all right, as opposed to taking the middle finger and moving it down a half step, right? That happened here naturally in the harmonic minor scale. Again, up here. That's part of the harmonic minor scale. So you have right, and this, we haven't talked about that. That's a diminished tetrachord. G sharp, A, B, C. This would be a perfect fourth, and if you take a perfect interval lower to half step, you get that diminished interval. So I'm going to write these out for a second. I'm going to write them out in treble clef so you can see what I'm talking about and see what the differences are in those tetrachords, all right? And I'm just kind of going to sort of make them somewhat similar. So here we go. F, G, A, F, G, A, B, okay? Those are all whole tone, right? That's a whole tone tetrachord. If I take those notes, if I take these notes and I take my second finger and I raise it a half step to G sharp, okay, then it is no longer a whole tone, right? But I mean, this here, this is an augmented fourth. If you want to call it a tritone, that's fine by me. That's this, all right? Or, again, if you take your middle finger and lower it a half step, okay, and make this A flat, right? This interval here becomes an augmented second, right? But those shapes, those three shapes, 1, 2, 3. Those three shapes, you kind of got to know, okay? And then there's the diminished fourth. That's a perfect fourth, right? But the diminished fourth, that'd be F, G flat, A flat, B double flat, or E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A. That would be, I wouldn't spell it as F because then I would have, well, I could do that. I mean, if I want to, F, G flat, A flat, and then this would be B double flat. You understand why? I could also spell it, it might be a little easier to spell it as an E sharp. And you guys got to get used to these, you know, enharmonic spellings. It's not that hard, but E sharp, is it too hard to read? E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, and A. See, a fourth is a fourth is a fourth. Any kind of an E up to any, in this case it's E sharp, but any kind of an E up to any kind of an A. That's basically a fourth. Now that so happens that's the diminished fourth. But that's what we're dealing with. Line, space, line, space. That's all of the scenarios that we're talking about here. So I think, to me, the easiest thing to do is, if you know what a fourth is, I think, you know, the first four notes of a major scale, right? Take that top note, raise it a half step. Now you have your augmented interval, okay? And now you have your whole steps. And then practice taking your second finger, lifting it up a half step, and then take your middle finger and go down. Right? Those are the three. Right? Now, which note do we have that this note stays the same? This note stays the same. And interestingly enough, this note kind of stays the same. And I say kind of stays the same because the name changes. This is the confusing thing. This is the gray area I'm talking about that can get you messed up. C, D, E, F sharp, okay? C, D, E flat, F sharp. C, D sharp, E, F sharp. See what I'm talking about? That key, we're still playing that key, but it takes on a completely different context, okay? That's the interesting thing. What the heck is that? What did I do there? My God. Okay. C, D, E, F sharp, okay? Some kind of a C, some kind of a D, some kind of an E, and some kind of an F, right? In this case, it's F sharp. C, D sharp, E, F sharp, okay? Or C, D, E flat, F sharp, right? or C, D flat, E flat, F flat. That's the diminished. C, D flat, E flat, I forgot to write my flat there, and then F flat. That right there, that is the diminished tetrachord. The diminished tetrachord is important for the top part of any harmonic minor scale. It's the top part of the, this is the top part of the D flat harmonic minor scale. Right? I know these might not seem like they're very important, and they're weird, and you've never heard of them, and why should you bother, and can't you just do something else? And yeah, okay, fine. But, you know, if you really want to get your playing together and your understanding of music theory together, and I would learn these. You know, I would learn all of these. I would learn, you know, major, minor, Phrygian, harmonic, and then the whole tone, the raised second, the lowered third, and the diminished. All of those. Now, how many are those? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Right? There are 8 different types of tetrachords. And you could just do that on one, you know, just start on one note, and then go up a fifth maybe, or do the next one, and then major, minor, Phrygian, harmonic, whole tone, raised second, lowered third, and then diminished. How hard is that? It's not that hard. So that you can throw your hands down on the keys and grab these groups of notes, and then take them and kind of toss them around the keyboard. Major, minor, Phrygian, harmonic. You know, everybody's trying to do major scales and 8-note scales. You know, and that's all well and good, but try this instead. Okay. Thank you for being such good sports, for those of you who ended up at the end of this video, and for those of you who didn't, I won't be hearing this, but I perfectly understand. Okay, signing off. This is Jonathan at the piano lesson, and drop me a line and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.